The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to the Unfiltered by Jade, where we get out of the box and dive into topics that are sidelined. I look forward to entertain, educate, and inspire. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to the Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Davika Latoya. And if you're listening, she was on some of our previous episodes before, and we're speaking about heartbreak, right? Today we're going to be speaking about the independent woman. So, Davika, she's a family and relationship coach for Kingdom Woman, and she has her book out, Becoming Her, which you need to get on Amazon in the Kindle version and in the paperback version. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about our topic today. So, hi, Davika.
Hello. I am excited for the conversation today. Yes, I am.
Listen, in our last conversation that we had, and we had you had touched on it, and I said, listen, we cannot talk about that. That's a different episode because I was ready to start. I was getting a little passionate about it. But we're here today, and we're gonna dive into it, Davika.
Yes.
I want to know from your perspective, like, what really does independent woman mean?
Okay. So I will share my perspective, but I also want to pull out the dictionary's definition, right? And what
Sure.
the Urban Dictionary says an independent woman is. So the dictionary says being an independent woman means that you are able to pay your half of everything or pay in full. It means that you are able to afford the lifestyle that you want to live because your paycheck matches, right?
Mercy. Mm-mm.
It means that you can take care of yourself. You are self-efficient. Um, but that's not the only thing that it means. It also means that you're not afraid to put yourself first, that you're comfortable being alone. You work hard for everything. And in some cases, an independent woman takes care of her family. Yes, right? It's loaded. So the Urban Dictionary does highlight on some of these things as well. But it had touched point on behavior. And it highlighted that, these women are strong and they could be aggressive, right?
Hmm.
It used other vernaculars that I do not want to say on the air. But I would say my personal definition of independent woman has been changing over the years. But I would say right now, an independent woman is a woman that is strong or presents herself to be strong. She carries herself in a way that she feels comfortable showing up in society. But I also would define an independent woman as not a fully whole woman. And I'll share that, throughout our conversation.
Right.
But yeah.
Is the term or the definition of independent woman changing over time?
Oh, absolutely. Cultural standards change, right? Social movements change, and these dictate the way that we look at the independent woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, like social movements, they give new language. So, they either will I don't know, but they ultimately bring change to society, policies, and systems. And these changes they're wide. They also include the functions and the roles. Um, so, for example, I mean, right now we see a lot of celebrities that say they are an independent woman, yet they present themselves in manners that are somewhat degrading to women, right? As well as some traits are toxic, but they're
Mm-hmm.
glamorized. Um, and so, the idea or the definition is changing over time. And I would say that is based on who is the voice of culture, who is the voice of this generation. Um, that makes a huge difference for sure.
So I want to go back on something that you spoke about before, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to touch on some tools here. Um, well, our back is broad. So, in terms of, all right, so independent women, all right. So I've heard women, as you say, speak about their independence and their independence, etc. But I am also seeing, as I said, the dictionary also spoke about some things that are a little bit, degrading. I don't want to really talk about it, but I'm going to touch on two.
Mhm.
So aggressive and very toxic. So
Yeah.
I've seen personally some women who claim that they are independent. Or I'm not going to say claim. They say they're independent, so sure. They're very nasty
Mhm.
and they're very aggressive. And they believe that because they're aggressive, it means that they're strong. We
Yeah,
tend to sometimes mix up aggression with being strong.
absolutely.
We don't have to be aggressive or always angry because some of them are always angry. Like you're just always angry. And I realize that they put it in the same boat as well, they're angry and that means that they're strong because they're angry. No, it means that you have work to do on yourself and you need to get it fixed. Um,
Mhm.
they're aggressive towards men because I'm independent and I don't need you. No, you need to work on yourself. You do not need to be aggressive towards men or other people because you say you're independent. And some of it becomes very toxic. So people sometimes don't want to be around a lot of independent women because they don't, quote unquote, sometimes some of these women don't know how to operate. They do not know how to lead. They do not know how to be man. They're sometimes down the manners. As simple as that, they do not know how to function in a society with other people without giving off this nasty behavior.
Yes. Yes.
And
Put
and
back. I was I'm like, "You gotta pace this conversation." You went right in. You went right in. Yes. Yes.
so I mean, and that's why I asked, is the definition changing? Because it seems like, all right, for us to be independent, the nice things that was said about it, sure, we can do these things, but can we do these things in love and still be independent? You
Mhm.
know, without being angry about it, without being angry at other sex, without being angry at other people, because we are such and such independent women.
Right.
That's why that question was asked.
Right. Okay, so the term independence
Hmm.
means free from outside control, not depending on another's authority, not depending on another, either it be a person, place, or thing, to be or to sustain or to live or to function. Um, and I think that what you just highlighted is so important to consider because the very term independent, it's a separation. It's a
Mm-hmm.
severance from people, right? And it's also a severance from influence. It's almost like you are going to move throughout life and society doing your own thing. You were your own law. You were your own judge. You were your own decree. And it's very closed-minded, like that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It also lends to your inability to be flexible, right? It, it does. How would I word this? It lends to that toxic nature that you just spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in your mind, you're already like, well, I don't need you for anything. Where do we show value? Where do
Mm-hmm.
we show respect? That's not in your vernacular. Um, it's not a part of your day-to-day functions now as an independent woman. And I think that goes to that ever-changing definition of what independence is. Because if we looked back in the day, a lot of civil rights movements, the movements were to empower, educate,
Yes.
and to liberate women so that they can be seen as equal, so that you respect their function, right? Their design, their gifts, their talents, so that they can be a contributor,
Mm-hmm.
right? By having the ability to vote and to work and to have equal pay, and to be seen as, a valued member of society. But as that definition changed over the years, we have moved out of community and culture and stuck at self.
Oh yeah. And that's why things are going so downhill.
Mhm.
I must say. What are some of the mindsets that independent women have, and how does it limit them?
Right. Well, how exactly could anyone be in a healthy relationship if you are not able to receive them in any matter? Um, it's it's a block.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a cloak that I think many put on without fully understanding what words they are speaking into their destiny, speaking into their lives. Um, and so, I would say that in terms of that mindset, it's very limited, and so there's a lot of work that will have to happen. Um, but the way in which like two or more concepts or subjects. Okay, so relationship. Let me give you this. So relationship, the definition is in the way which two or more concepts, subjects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected, the way in which two or more people or groups um, are able to bond with each other. And so independent and relationship, they contradict one another,
Hmm.
because both of the functions are producing different results. So they do not complement one another. Um, and so I think that, based on just our genetic makeup, women, we are designed to receive and multiply, right? We take in seed, we produce a child, right? And so culture has shifted, or the culture shifts have impacted the way as well that we date, right? That dance between, you brought it up, that masculine and femininity, like it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when now you have too much of one kind, you're not able to, fall into a rhythm so naturally. Um, and I know that some people are, okay, let me put it this way. Even in the way that we see relationships nowadays, whether it's a heterosexual relationship or a homosexual relationship, someone always is more feminine,
Oh yeah.
other is always more masculine. So it's important to see that our functions are displayed everywhere. It's displayed in nature. It's displayed even in the different orientations, right? Why is it that we gravitate, but then culture's telling us to move away, right?
Hmm.
It's in us. We've been created with a purpose, to work together to have that masculine and feminine dance. And so even the dating scene is going through that transformation as well because of, this newfound liberation of, the independent woman. Um, so, you know, the mindset is of the independent woman. The blockages that I see, at least, is that there's difficulty in navigating lots of environments. I can't even just say a few environments, lots of environments.
I mean, all right. So even listening to you, I can even recall sometimes I hear like women or I see women doing certain things. So if it is that they go to the supermarket and the man wants to take their grocery for you, no, I can take my own groceries.
Hmm.
What? Or um, a man is opening the door for them. No, I can open my own door.
Yep.
So how is it that we say, how is it that we think we need a man, but then when the man is doing what he's supposed to do, we don't need him to do it?
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
like two men in a relationship.
Right. Right. The idea of independent is contradictory to relationships.
It is. You
You
cannot be in. So in reality, you cannot be a quote unquote independent woman and want a relationship.
No, no,
That cannot work.
no.
I don't. And I said we're stepping on toes because I hear women saying, "Oh, they're independent and they don't need this, but they want a man." No, you don't want a man. You want yourself. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be in a relationship with a man who's gonna feel emasculated because you're taking over his job. What's his purpose then?
Exactly.
What is his
Exactly.
purpose?
It's hard to find a beat when the drummer is beating at his own rhythm.
Hmm.
So if you are going through life at your own pace, your own rhythm, it is hard for others to jump on board because there's that communication piece, even that connectivity piece, that sense of belonging, that sense of harmony. Like it's just, it's not there. It's not there. Like I see women, I've even had, I mean, let's be honest, independent women is glamorized. And, at a point, I was like, yeah, I'm an independent woman. Let's talk about it. Our words carry weight.
Yes.
And so when there's situations, I'm like, no, 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 I could do this by myself. Like, I don't need you. I can provide, I could support, I could do this, I could do that. And then I realized I'm like, I am not an independent woman.
No, no.
I am
Mm-mm.
not. It's not the way that I've been designed. I'm having a hard time, maintaining relationships and being in certain social environments, right? Uh, you brought it up earlier as well of that nasty kind of attitude when you walk into places and you think that you're better than other people. Like, let's talk about that too, right? An independent woman will never think less of herself, right? And so now we're bleeding into, competition.
Oh yeah, and that is why there's so many competitions out there between women.
Yes, yes, yes. Competition, right? Are we really truly, or can you call yourself a woman, like a sisterhood advocate, if you are the toxic person, if you are the,
Mighty.
you know,
Yes, sir.
how does that work?
Ah, goodness
And like
God.
these are the buzzwords, right? So when we speak things, they carry weight. And so you can't call yourself a woman empowerment when you walk into the room and you scouted out everybody and you're like, I'm better than all of you.
Mm. No, man. No, Davika.
But
No.
then you're hosting brunches.
God, all right. You come to cause problem. So that way. Is the independent ideology based on a woman's previous hurt? That question was from my husband.
Oh, okay, husband. The answer is what you think it is, right? And the answer is yes,
Uh-huh.
right? And so, okay, just going back to those social movements, right? The outcomes, they were designed to empower, liberate, and educate, right?
Right.
Women who have either gone through or is going through what the founders went through, right? Which is usually based on hurt. And so, you have those different movements. You have like Me Too movement, right? That is based on the unacceptable practices and oppressive systemic practices that prolong women's hurt, right? And all of that historical things that are associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's based on hurt, right? And a lot of the movements were created to empower, but attached to the empowerment is liberation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that over the years, that liberation has gone to the far extreme,
Yes.
where you have founders of movements that are saying, let's go on a march in just our bikinis or whatever, and telling people don't shame us for wanting to be promiscuous.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so the things that we used to call good are now called bad. And the
Right.
things that were called bad are now called good. And so just going back, yes, it is on hurt. You did not feel heard, right? Like, let's go back to those initial foundational things that are developed that you need in relationships,
Right.
right? Whether it's a relationship between parents or in community, that sense of belonging,
Yeah.
right? Your identity formation,
Mm-hmm.
your trust, your esteem, your emotional intelligence. These were things that were not developed, which led into consequential behaviors, right?
Right.
But you can't pick up your wounds that you've chosen not to heal from
True.
and then turn it into a movement that
Wow.
is going to perpetuate, right, the cycle of wounds and hurts. And so I couldn't, in my right mind, tell young girls it's okay to sleep with whomever you want, knowing that there's emotional attachments
Right.
that is involved in these relationships, right? Regardless if you inserted your emotions or not, like, there's chemicals that flow through our body. So there are going to be attachments, right? You could call them soul ties,
Mm-hmm. There are soul ties.
right? And so one person after another person after another I just set you back.
Right.
That's not liberation. That's bondage.
And the thing is, you're doing it because you are looking for something from the opposite sex.
You're looking for all of those things that were not
Dearly.
developed.
Mm-hmm. And
Right?
if it is that we go back even to childhood from we're kids, philosophers talk and we can look into it. Psychologists speak about it also in
Mhm.
terms of a baby. If we notice with a baby girl, she's growing up, she's attached a lot to her father. There's her father in the house.
Yes.
Whereas the
Yes.
son is attached more to the mom.
Yes.
And that's how it is from we are babies.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is because that's how God ordained it to be.
Right.
So now, a lot of women also who have spoken about, oh, I'm independent, I don't need a man, I don't need this, I can do whatever on my own. A lot of them, if you look back at it, a lot of them are lacking that affection they got from their dad. Either their dad wasn't in the home,
Yep.
They didn't get what they needed from a dad or a father figure, etc. So they grew up now angry. I don't need a man. No, you do. You need somebody. You need a male person, whether to look up to or whatever. You needed that, you didn't get it, and because of that, you're angry. It's as simple as that. So, as I said before, you need to get it checked out and stop being angry and stop saying, "Oh, I'm independent." You're independent for the wrong reasons, and that is what sometimes is causing us problems, and that's why you have a lot of people having relationship issues because they don't really even know why they're independent. They
Right.
just know that they don't need a man because they never had a man in their lives yet, so they don't need one now. And
Right.
when a man comes now, it's a big problem because no, you can't tell me what to do. No, because they didn't have that as a child. So now as an adult, no, you can't give me directions. No, you can't give me an input in my life. No, you can't do whatever it is. And you come angry and bitter, and then when the man leaves, you have a problem. No, what is your problem? Sort out yourself first.
And you know what? Just continuing on what you're saying, if culture is telling you to be an independent woman, so not only were you lacking, right, that fatherhood, but then all the women around you are portraying what it is to be a woman, it's going to be even harder to transition or to know what is, you know, that function, right? To know how to dance, to know how to communicate, to know how to be in healthy relationship.
Yep. Oh yeah. And at least sometimes on Father's Day when I hear some
Mm,
women saying, "Oh, my mom is my father and my mom," I always disagree with it. No, she's not.
yeah.
No, she's not. She may be the only parent in the home. She ain't your dad. She
Yeah.
cannot teach you or treat you how a father is supposed to treat you, what he's supposed to show you, how he's supposed. She will never be able to do that.
Yeah.
She can only do that from a mom perspective. That's always been my go-to where it is. So when people, "Oh, my mom is my dad," no, she's not. She's only one of them. So you're missing half.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what was one of the things with me as well when I started this coaching business was one the single parent households, but how much out of order we are in a single parent household.
Hmm.
We're out of God's order.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And yes, we are put into circumstances that, we don't foresee, which is unfortunate, and I'm speaking as a single parent,
Mm-hmm.
but it does not negate the fact that I know that my household is out of order, but
Hmm.
God is so sovereign because he will now take space in that position until
Yes.
my husband comes to now take his rightful position.
Mm-hmm.
Family is something that is so important to me because there is a purpose designed with family. I started asking friends recently, I'm like, what is a mother? What is a father? What is a sister, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, right? Like, do we really understand not just the function, the role, but also what we're supposed to get out of these figures in our lives?
Hmm.
What is our purpose together in family, right? And so just looking at how the kingdom of God works, he calls all of us his children.
Yes.
And so if he is the head as father, right, that lends to, wow, we all, like, families have a purpose.
Yes.
Families have a calling, but how
Mm-hmm.
much of us is actually doing that together as
Okay.
family? But that's a different, you know. But yeah. But this is what happens when when we're out of order, right?
Yeah.
I
I
should have
mean,
been an independent woman. Why?
Lord, I mean, sometimes what happens to create this single parent household is not sometimes what we want. It's
No.
just sometimes what we get,
Yes.
right? And what I just want to put out there for people, not because there's a single family or you have a single family means to say, it doesn't mean you say to the child, I'm both parents for you. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That alone creates an ideology for kids, and they grow up saying, I can be both. I don't need this other person.
Yeah.
And that creates a society now where we have mean people. So women grow up mean to men for no reason at all. Or we grow up kids, girls, boys angry at the opposite sex for no reason at all. It makes no sense. That's why sometimes you have women, as I said before, just sleeping around with different men because I don't need you, I just need you for sex. That's,
Right.
because it's what we were taught when we were younger. So we also have to be mindful of what we tell our kids,
Yeah.
especially as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Is a woman needing a man a bad thing though?
Nope. It's not a bad thing. We should need men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Friendships is a kingdom currency, relationships, right? And so, like, the more you invest, the bigger your withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
We were not created to be an island. We were created to work, function, iron sharpens iron. Like, we were designed to be in community, to be with one another. There's
Right.
something that's inside of you that I need to bring out the something that is in me that somebody else needs.
Mm-hmm.
I hear people talking about we live our lives not just for ourselves,
True.
right? So yeah, I women, like, we should need people. But it's not a bad thing to need a man. Yes. And why wouldn't we not want a man to feel like great
Yes.
about himself and his ability?
Yes.
Because if these things come natural to him, why wouldn't we not want him to function at his peak?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine walking around with a man that is so self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that he will be praised.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He functions well, right? That keeps all of us in that high living, that
Mm-hmm.
that leveled up status. Like,
Yes.
why do we want people to walk around? Or let's just leave it to married couples. Why would we want a married couple to walk around dysfunctional?
That's a good question. That's a really, really good question. I think because, as I said, it starts from the childhood where we're learning how to do things from what we see on the internet, social media. And we also have to be careful of who we follow because not everybody that we see on social media and follow, they're telling us the right things because for some strange reason, they're telling us something, but it may not work for us. And we take it on and say, well, this celeb is doing it. Well, that celeb is telling you that they're doing it. Are you sure that they're doing it?
Right. And cultural, like, so our natural or nation's attributes also play a huge part into that. I would say that the Western culture or society, they're more consumer driven, which focus on self. But then you have countries like the Nordic countries, like Sweden, for example, they're very community oriented, right? Like, they rely on one another. Childcare centers are literally like every fifth house is a childcare center. Education system is free because they believe in the value of people.
Right.
So they make sure that there is no, threshold to you pursuing and becoming your best, because that means that the nation becomes its best.
Yes.
There's other nations as well that really believe in that community relationship model, like the Indigenous people. So I'm Canadian. So we have a large Indigenous population, and they teach so much just in their culture. They value the place of every person, even animals and plants, right? They don't do things in excess, right? They save for the other person. So, like what you said, like what we grow up watching and consuming, it does lead to how we
How
control
operate as we get
life.
older.
Hmm.
Mhm. The last question I want us to touch on is how do we find a balance while striving to be an independent woman in a relationship?
Right. Being reflective, um, doing the inner work that will support your fullness of your function, of your design.
Hmm.
I tell clients all the time to evaluate, and to redefine their belief systems, because
Yes,
sometimes we hold on to belief systems that are not even ours,
Marco.
right?
True. Very
Right.
true.
And then it like contradicts in some of our attitudes and like our behaviors. So it's like, do the who, what, when, where, why to your belief systems. Do you really believe in them? Like, start asking yourself those questions, right? Is this really and truly who I am or what I want to be? And then from there, find a therapist, right? A coach, and start to rediscover you again.
Right.
Um, but what I will also say is, so there's a book in the Bible that I love. I love it. I love it. The Book of Ruth. And that is one example of relationships done well. Even though it was between a mother in law and her daughter in law, but it showed, you know, that we need each other. Um, and how the result will, like, together we move further and faster, versus just being on our own.
Hmm.
Um, and again, the story ends beautiful with Ruth marrying Boaz,
Hmm.
but she was able to do so confidently with or in relationship. So having that idea of, okay, I don't just want to have friends or to make
Hmm.
my circle big, but I want to have purposeful and intentional relationships with people.
Right.
So even, as you're going through this journey, you may just want to um, really value the relationships that you have currently, and then see how you can now pour into it, and start receiving, right? And giving, and nurturing what is already present.
Sorry, I'm writing down what you said. Yeah, that's good. We have to evaluate the relationships that we have currently.
Yeah. Where, it, just like how when you go on a diet,
Oh, here we go.
sometimes you go on a diet just to look good for your birthday. And you do the most, right? You do the extreme. But when it comes to people, we got to show value. So nutritionists and trainers, they will tell you, no, 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 like, it's a lifestyle, right? Just
It's a
cut out
lifestyle.
one thing first, move slow. So don't jump into,
Right.
but see, like, look at what you have right now. Maybe you need to reconcile your relationship with your mother, with your father, you know, start with what you've got.
Isn't that something?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. If it's not toxic and it can be reconciled, try and reconcile the
Abs-
relationship.
Absolutely.
I agree because it plays a really important part in our lives, whether we believe it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Davika. I want you to tell us where we can find you.
Yes, you can find me at davikalatoya.com. Social media, I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Davika Latoya.
Just type it in and you'll see her, guys. And if you need a coach, she is here to coach you.
I am here.
She's here. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Shabika.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed the conversation. You woke up strong this morning. And thank you so much for that. Oh my goodness. Um, I
Yeah.
know I know so there are people who will disagree with our conversation, but it's okay. Um, the,
Yeah,
there are different thoughts of schools around the world. Um,
absolutely. But
And
again,
mhm,
it's in these, see, and that's the thing too, right? Why people become independent is because they are unable to receive a different viewpoint,
mercy, no man.
right? I want relationally safe relationships that I can have a disagreement and it doesn't mean that I hate you and I'm going to block you off of everything. Your school of thought is your school of thought, but I'm still going to love you and show you value at the end of the day.
Mm, I love that.
We don't have to agree. We could
True.
disagree and still be friends.
Very true. Yes, we can. And that's a term that not many people understand. Once you disagree with them, we're no longer friends. And
Right.
we all, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
So quick to just drop people. No, I don't want
Worry
to
too.
guide me.
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to have different ideas or thoughts because we're all different persons. So we can learn from each other.
Exactly.
Don't be so close-minded that you can't learn from somebody. As we grow older, we learn. If we're not learning, we're dying though.
Yeah, we are. Right? We are. Um, super important. It just came to me right now. Instead of using, because some people may say, but I've always called myself, I identify with that independent woman. Maybe not. Maybe you identify with the attributes, right? That you are a strong, a resilient woman, that you are an encourager, etc.
Hmm.
The Bible talks about Rachel and Ruth and Naomi and Deborah. These are women Esther, these are powerful women
Right.
um, who made a difference, but they were not independent.
Mm.
They were not independent, but they carry those attributes that we
Right.
will classify as independent. So I
Right.
think we just need to restructure the terms that we use. And then again, it all goes back to your belief systems, right? Go through that purging, that evaluation, that assessing, because maybe you just identify with the attributes more so than the actual,
Term
definition.
itself.
Yeah,
Hmm. And sometimes we hear it so much, we grow up saying it without even understanding what we're
right.
saying. Because persons who have heard it from, they may have used it out of anger. They
Yes.
may have used it out of so many things that are negative, and we have taken that on. So sometimes we also have to say, why is it that my mom called herself that all the time? Why is it? So sometimes we use it because here we don't have any other words to describe ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
know who we are.
Yeah.
So we hear something and we are trying to prove it to ourselves. Because
Hmm.
sometimes we're only trying to prove something to ourselves. And it turns out to be negative and not positive. So anything that we're doing with our attributes of the independent woman, use it to be positive, not negative.
Right. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. um, when we use terms, we're also linking ourselves to the pain, to
Yes.
the struggles,
Oh, wow.
right?
Mm,
So if we're going to talk, make our words be ours,
yeah.
make them be meaningful.
Yes, sir.
I'm not an independent woman.
Nope. Nope.
I am not connecting to nobody's pains or wounds.
Very
Like,
true.
no.
Very true. We're not going to live our life being connected to someone else's pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. We're doing introspection on our own self and figuring it out for our own selves.
Yes.
That's what we ought to do, my
Yes.
team. I tell you, you woke up strong this morning, but I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it. I love it. Thank you so much, Davika. And thank you so much to our listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And guess what? We'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.
Bam bam bide, bam bam bide, badu bidi boo. Bam bam bide.